computers. It helped me do a million things. It helped me set up telephone networks, towers, etc. So they used graph theory and computer simulation and are now on the verge of creating a model that can be fitted to any village in India for round-the-clock running water. That's what I call using your hands, knowledge in action. And it's working. They learn the mathematics. They learn computer science. They learn the art of communication. They learn about the real world. They learn to empathize with one another, with the world. And they grow. That's what education is about, discovering what you'd like to do. There are others who are working on history and how it connects with the world. And they'll find their calling in life. There are mentors who advise them. And they're encouraged to take courses. They're also encouraged to work in groups. And they're encouraged to work on projects. So they're working on how history connects with other disciplines. What lessons does history have? What are the flows of history that have worked for societies, for economic regeneration or ruin? And how does history connect with politics? And how does it work in the real world? So they go and look at microcosmic things as well. So they're developing a sound and light show on the history of the area around the Vice Chancellor's office in the university. This is called using your hands. They're learning the whole process of what history should be, what it means, how it connects. They bring in technology, and that is a place replete with history, dating back to 1857, when the rebels marched against the British. It was a hunting lodge in those days. From that time onwards, there is an Ashokan pillar there. There is a memorial to the mutiny set up by the British. There is a Flagstaff. There is a lake there that saw enormous action. It's now christened Khuni Khan Lake because that's where the rebels put up this huge stand. Many lives were lost and the lake turned red with color, with the blood. And so they're creating a sound and light show. And this is an enormous process of growth. It's a 4-year program. But I want schools also to connect. So I spoke to the CBSE chairman quite often. I've been doing that. I spoke to him last evening as well. I had no idea that he is also one of the... I saw his picture here. And he says that he would like to somehow reorient his own system so that it's more in tune with what happens here. So that students actually get an opportunity to discover their true calling in life. And you look at all the great ones who have found their calling in life. And how did they do that? Did they really go through a system that made them find it, or was there something different that was happening? At least the ones that I have admired. Darwin said that he learnt more at the pubs of Cambridge than he did in the classrooms. What does Russell say? Russell says that he had to unlearn everything that was taught to him at Cambridge. And then relearn by himself before he became what he became. And Newton, remember, did all that he did, not at Cambridge, when Cambridge shut down for the plague, and he went away. That's when he did what he did. This is not to run down Cambridge. Don't misunderstand me. I'll tell you one of the biggest things that these institutions offer. Forget all the people there. Not such a big deal. It's the peer group. That's where the greatest learning and insights come from. And I also say this from my own experiences as a student. Of course, in your entire journey, you will come across a great mentor, a guru, who will tell you something and who will show you the path. That happens within systems, Cambridge or St. Stephen's or the University of Delhi or Jamia. You will always find some such people. I remember Amitabh Bachchan when he came to the university to receive this honorary doctorate and his acceptance speech. He said in his entire experience at Kirodimal College, there was just one person who stood out. Wasn't his teacher in the formal sense. Amitabh Bachchan studied English literature. This person taught political science. But he says, he's the one who put me into theatre. And that's where he found his calling in life. And he mentioned just this one person. So it will always be like that. But that may have very little to do with this formal system. So let's not take ourselves too seriously. Just make sure that the peer group is given a certain degree of freedom, choice, and is not overwhelmed, and is allowed to use their hands and connect with the real world in such a way that there is a certain degree of ferment that occurs within. And that ferment will drive you. Gandhi's mind was in ferment all the time. He wanted to liberate the country from its misery. Political freedom was not his goal. It was just one of the steps towards his business of liberating the masses from the misery. That's what the Buddha wanted to do. And remember, who was Gandhi's spiritual guru? I just want to re-emphasize that don't take ourselves too seriously. He was a successful diamond merchant of Surat. That man was Gandhi's spiritual guru. Who will believe that? But this diamond merchant, look at his life. Look at his picture. The man hardly ever ate anything. He lived on air and water. He was a Shatavdhani, a Jain, Raichand Bhai. Shatavdhanis are people who can focus on 100 things at the same time. But he was a successful diamond merchant. Very successful. But he didn't allow that money to affect him. It was just a profession that he practiced with complete honesty. He was a spiritually elevated man. Then money didn't touch him. It didn't affect him. It was nothing for him. The money was nothing for him. He went to no school. He went to no university. And that was Gandhi's spiritual guru. So let's not take ourselves too seriously. Let's just somehow bring in some of the principles of these great ones. And train journeys and things like that, we need to keep thinking on our feet all the time. I'm in the process of purchasing a train from the Indian Railways. I'm going to run a whole college on wheels. We'll travel the length and breadth of India. Semester by semester, students will stay on the train. And why am I doing that? It's not an idea that I got out of the blue. Look at your own experiences as children on train rides. My own remembrances of train journeys are so ennobling, so enriching. And you look at what happened to Gandhi. Gandhi really became Gandhi because of train journeys. Remember I told you, Ruskin's Unto This Last was on a train journey. You can't read that on a plane, believe you me. You can't. Not in a car. It has to be a train. And he got thrown out of a train in South Africa. That's what set him thinking. When he returned to India, when Gokhale encouraged him to come back, what did Gokhale say? You come back, and Gokhale told him for 1 year, don't say a word, don't do anything, just understand India. And what did Gandhi do? For 1 year, he traveled the length and breadth of India on trains. And then Gandhi began to understand India. Of course, the English never knew that when you set up this railway network, they will also facilitate Gandhi. But they did. You know, out of evil cometh good. The railways were meant to allow them to move their troops. But good comes from that. And so he became Gandhi because of that. And I set off 1,000 girls on a 12-day train journey in the month of June. And they traveled from here to Ahmedabad, to Gandhi's ashram, then to Gandhi's university, and then from there to Mumbai, where they were airlifted to the aircraft carrier INS Virat, 1,000 girls. And they saw how the Virat functions. Then they went to the naval dockyard in Goa, from there to the Indian Space Research Organization in Bangalore, then back to Gandhi's ashram at Wardha, which he set up in the middle of nowhere, and then from there to Delhi. But on the train itself, it was fully equipped with a library, with every child had a laptop, there was internet, and each compartment had a bunch of groups, students divided into groups, and they worked on projects, redesigning the train, looking at how to figure out the speed of the train by just looking at the landscape, understanding the geography of the region you pass through, so on and so forth. And so they educate themselves. And you should see. I sent another group in the month of October. This time they traveled to the border in Rajasthan. And they spent a night in tents with our Jawans facing off the Pakistani with no hostility. The idea was to see what happens. But they also went through the length and breadth of Rajasthan, figuring out the non-conventional energy programs, the history of Rajasthan, the geography, the culture. And then, as I said, they keep working. They're trying to redesign the toilets. They're trying to figure out the electronics behind train communication. They're trying to see